Hi doll friends, I'm David Robinson with the Carmel Doll Shop and the Grovian Doll Museum, and I am here with Denise Buese.
Yes, hello.
Longtime friend.
Absolutely.
And in this case, you're wearing the hat of instructor.
Yes, I am.
We're fortunate to have an annual class with Denise. Always a sellout, which we're happy to report. But in this instance, Denise is doing double duty as she agreed to create 2 different ensembles for our Hooray 4 Seasons series. And today, I think you're going to be working on the fall edition
costume,
which is entitled Cornucopia.
Yes.
And I'm not a sewer, but the presentation is spectacular, but it looks kind of difficult. So I think
not difficult.
No, okay.
Maybe more steps than others.
Okay.
But not difficult.
Well,
and we'll go through.
The final result is spectacular.
Thank you. Worth it.
Michael Canadas is behind the camera, but he's going to be switching places, and he's going to be filming you.
Yes.
Instructing virtually the students out there on the steps to create this wonderful ensemble.
That's right.
That's what we're doing.
That's right. And it takes 3 to 4 days to create a costume like this, usually, which of course we're not doing here.
Right.
So we'll pick out highlights of pieces and parts.
It's like where we go get the chicken from the oven.
Yes, that's right. And then
already
it's
cooked.
done.
So, all right,
yes.
perfect.
Yes.
Well, I think we're going to have a good time.
Okay,
so with that, I think we'll just get started. So follow along.
Hi, I'm glad that you've decided to try this kit through the virtual doll convention. This kit is called Cornucopia. It's the fall series. When you get your kit, it will come with all that you need, the fabrics, the trims, buttons, and they'll be in little bags, and we just suggest that you don't open up anything before you need to get to it, because things have a habit of disappearing sometimes. We all know that. So the first thing we're going to go over is the chemisette, which is a blouse. And this outfit has the blouse, a skirt, a belt, a jacket, and a cape, as well as a hat. So there are many pieces. And so we'll go over each one individually and in order. The first thing we're going to do with the chemisette, you're going to cut a piece of fabric 10 inches by 5 inches, and all these dimensions and instructions will be in your printed instruction pack. What you're going to do is make little pin tucks, and the way I was taught to do it, and the way I just love to do it, is to measure along, and you'll know how far in to measure, and then every 1/4 of an inch here we've made a little mark. You can mark it with pen. What I've done is used a friction pen, which is an erasable pen if you write on paper, or on fabric. You can iron it with a hot iron and it will disappear, so you don't worry. But in any case, this isn't going to show because we're going to cut this part off. So what we do is mark, and as you can see here, I've already pulled threads. And the reason we pull a thread, you might think, oh, but there's going to be a little space here or something. No, you won't see that. But it does keep the line and the pin tuck extremely straight to the grain of the fabric. Sometimes our fabrics are a little off maybe, and you know, fabrics are alive, they move. They move. And I like this method of doing this.
And Denise, this is a really old method. I mean, this has been around since the beginning of pin tucks.
Oh, okay. I was taught by a lovely elderly lady when I lived down in Pasadena, and a friend, Janet, and I would go to her house on the weekends, and we would sew, and she would show us little things. And this is one of the things that I learned from her that I loved. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. So,
and your your tucking is second to no one.
Maybe not Louise's. Thank you.
Okay, you're second to Louise.
Okay, so what you do is find, maybe I can do it a little bit better. I'm not sure how it's showing up on camera here.
And it's showing up
You don't
just
want a big
fine.
fat mark, but enough so that you can, you just have,
So you've got to find the thread.
yeah, you just find a thread here. I've pulled 2, of course I did.
And you only want to pull one?
Yes, of course I pulled 2. All right, there's 1. I've pulled 1. To me, these things are in the way, and I'm going to cut them off so I don't get all confused. Whoops, okay. So then, just pull it a little at a time, ease it through.
So you just are very gentle doing that.
Yes.
You're not forcing it.
No, not at all. Yeah, you don't pull with any real force. You just ease it out. And you get kind of a feel of it with this hand too. Oh, there it went.
Wow. That's,
And there it is, and there's
wow,
one.
It's a perfect line.
And then you go along. And we're going to do, this is halfway through, and I've given quite a bit of room here for everybody, just for leeway.
Now, are they going to have enough fabric that they can practice this if this is a new technique for them, or should they get some just scrap fabric?
I think get some scrap fabric and play around with it.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So when they get to the good stuff, which this is, they're going to then
be good at it.
They're going to be good at it.
And then when you, say I got started here. I'm sorry. And then when you've got them all and you're ready to make your tucks, you just fold on that line and just finger press.
So you finger, not
Just finger press it. I kind of nail press it, but it's finger press. Yes.
So you wouldn't iron this then?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
That works beautifully.
Mm-hmm. And then you'll sew here, and I've got a couple of them already started on this piece, and you can see how
you just get it out.
You're sewing like a 1/16 of an inch down there or something. It's very, yeah.
So it's basically right on the edge.
I think Louise says 3 threads. I might do 4 just because, you know, she's good.
You're good too. You're good
She's good.
too. So they sew down the line.
Right.
So show us your talent.
I'll just try to get it going here. There. But you see how close to the edge it really is.
What size needle do you use for this?
Well, you know, this one is a 10, actually, 10 embroidery. I like 11s. I like 10 or 11, but, you know, it's personal kind of what people like. And I like longer needles than some people like. I also need a large eye. So you got to look around. And,
yeah, everyone should use what they're comfortable with.
Right, see which one is best for you.
I think one of the most important things is that your needle is sharp.
It's sharp, yes, nice, new, sharp.
You can't use them for 20 years.
No, because then it pulls the threads this way, right?
And what do you think, how many stitches per inch do you
Well,
do you
I remember you talking about, Deborah Jenkins calls her stitches mouse stitches, which is fantastic. I love that. But I think you said they were 12 stitches to the inch. How much? Let's see. Let's say this is about I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might have 7. Yeah. So.
But these are, this is decorative, and when it's all together.
You know, I think if you had a teeny, I don't know, maybe size 12 needle, I know I've sewn before with the tiniest needles, and our friend Pat Gosh used to sell them. And oh, they were tiny. There almost was no difference between one end and the other. Anyway, so And there you go. You've got a little teeny tiny pin tuck.
Darling.
And then you go to the next one.
And they're doing this as a piece of fabric.
Yes.
And then they're going to then cut it out.
That's right. That's right. It looks, yes, it looks kind of crazy. But then once you get this all done, then you'll put the pattern on top of it and cut out. And we'll show that.
Now, what about when they go to cut it, the threads that they're going to be cutting into?
Like up here.
Yeah.
Yes. Tack them down. You have to tack those down.
All right.
And this is a place where you're going to cut. You're going to cut this because we're going to have a piece of insertion lace in the middle.
Okay.
So instead of just, cutting, I would take a thread out here too, and cut along that line, and then you'll be even.
You'll be absolutely even.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
So what is the technical term for, is it pulling the threads? Is that just the term?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
I've never done it myself.
I think
so
some people.
Now I feel I can.
So I think some people will do this and press a few of them, and I lose that press. I have done it crooked, and this just works for me.
Finger press.
It works.
Do the whole thing finger pressing, and then actual pressing it when it's done. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, depending on how big you want if you're doing this again or doing another blouse, you can space these wider.
This could be used in
many things. Many things.
Beautiful Here dresses with the skirts with all the tucking and incredible baby costumes and so this is really a good technique for our class to learn.
And you can do them all the way along and just have the whole front of the bodice tucked.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
And one thing that I've seen in a lot of Here costumes is the pin tucking on the sleeves, but vertically. So it would be running horizontally across the sleeves, which is pretty.
That's
very
pretty.
Little.
That's pretty.
Usually they're very, very simple dresses.
I was thinking, or they can run vertically from the shoulder and then open.
Yes. That could be gorgeous. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to put the lace insertion through the center of this piece of fabric, which will be the center of our blouse. So you have cut each piece off. So we have two pieces. I've got the pin tucks already pressed down, in which you do press one way to one side, press the other way to the other side, and then this insertion lace is going to be put right in the middle. So how do you get that in there? Very, very easily. And you can see, bring that out of the way, you can see that it's nice and neat, and you don't have any...
Beautiful work.
This is the other thing my friend Eileen taught me when I was down there. So, let's get...
Eileen was practically a Victorian, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was an older lady. She sewed professionally. There was a company called the Great American Doll Company that made great big vinyl dolls, and she actually sewed all of the...
she was the designer.
She designed, yes, all of the outfits for those big girl dolls. Okay, I just want to... We were talking here. Let me just go over this again. I'm sorry. Okay.
We talked.
So put them, the way side by side, the way they're meant to go, and then turn this one over so you're right side. You're not inside up. Bring this up just before the edge of the lace, and then line it up. Okay. Now at the very end, I'm going to just take a stitch. I'm going to take another one. Oh, this thread does curl up.
All thread curls up. How long of a thread do you usually use?
Too long.
Too long.
Way too long. Yes.
Well, everybody has their own.
Yeah. What is I don't know.
There's no right way or wrong way.
Because half the time it ends up that I have to cut it off because it knots. So I should start with a shorter.
But everyone has their.
Yeah, I'm getting some little threads.
You get a lot
in
of
there.
pleasure out of doing blouses because I know that you've done so many, for our classes and for your own. And I think blouses are something that scare people.
Maybe so, but they look so good when you're done. They really are pretty. And you can make so many different kinds. Hirés so often have these big, beautiful, billowy sleeves to their blouses. And actually this blouse is going to have a narrower sleeve just because it has to go under the jacket.
Let us go over that fabulous jacket.
Here it is. Yeah, I could have used. Okay. Anyway, so you're just bringing it over.
So it's really right on the edge.
It's right on the edge.
So it is going on the edge, and the edge is raw.
The edge is raw.
Oh, but see, look at that.
But
It's looking great.
It doesn't come apart.
No. Is it the bulk of the lace? Do you think that little funny little edge?
Yes, I think that helps because you're actually curling it over. Let me see. You're actually curling it over. See, so how it kind of ends up like that.
And I'm sure it's fairly durable too.
None have come apart. But then we don't throw it in the washing machine.
That's true.
Do we?
Well, I mean, they boiled the whites in the 19th century. So,
yeah.
I mean, they were tough on their cottons.
So here's a knot. Get that knot.
There has no instructor not had knots.
Oh, this could be shorter. Okay, so you get the idea as we go along there.
So they're basically making a whole piece of fabric.
Yes.
And then they will cut it, and then unfortunately some of it's going to be wasted, but not that much.
Not that much. A little bit on the top and bottom, maybe a little on the side.
And this is 100% cotton, of course.
Yes.
Because it's not worth doing it if it's not 100%.
It's very nice batiste. Gosh, we're very quiet. It's in workshops. It's not quiet, is it?
It isn't.
And I think that's why a lot of people go to workshops, because they're fun. They get to see people.
Sometimes they need. I have to go in and say more sewing, less talking.
But if you learn one or two things from a workshop, that's great.
I always learn.
Yeah.
I learned how to pull threads today.
Walk away.
Worth my price of admission.
Yeah. So.
I think the pulling thread things is so fantastic because you could never really get it straight.
I can't. I think some people can, but
I don't know that they can. I think they're doing the technique that you're doing, that you've taught them.
Also, how often really do you do this? You don't always make, we make dresses and we make bodices and we don't always make these,
But if
two-piece.
If you're doing a real Hiré wardrobe, you have to have these.
You do. Because you need to have skirts too.
You have to have skirts, and this technique was used on underwear. Those gorgeous pantalettes with all the tucks and where the pantalettes are exposed. They're only exposed if they have beautiful work.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's another point about doing these workshops. You need underwear on your dolls. You need underclothes. Either a full slip, like we have on her, and pantaloons. A hoop skirt is fabulous to make these just pop, these outfits.
We've provided these to the workshops that we've had, and because they want to get right to the fun stuff.
Well, you do, but you still need to do this.
Oh,
you can't just slap it on the...
Absolutely.
And it's good to have something on top. Maybe it's a chemise and a slip, if not a full slip like this. You make a little chemise and then make it so that either has drawstring or at least wide enough so that you can pull it down a little bit like this, so that if she's got a wide neckline, these won't show. You don't want it way up like that.
And we usually do a one piece because Hirés are girls, and girls wore one pieces.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Queen Victoria wore a one piece, but she was 4'8", so.
Well, she liked clothes too.
She did.
So whatever she wore was correct. I think the people who are in the virtual doll convention are going to be so happy now that these kits are coming.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
This is something you could do a couple at a time too, because once you get in the mode, it's
right.
It's
right. Might as well just do it. I think usually I'm down kind of like that with this.
Denise, you're a fast sewer.
You know what? I'm not really. I mean...
Oh, you are. But you do have a lot of practice, so that makes it...
yeah. Well, I had a lot of... And that is the key to is practice. The more you do it.
In any profession,
the more you
have to practice and get warmed up.
Yes. And with, the Rose Percy outfits and stuff, that was the most fun thing I've ever done.
Well, you did a lot of wardrobes.
I don't want to, but that's my point is practice. I made a lot of little dresses, and you just go on and do a different style, and you learn, and kind of challenge yourself. Can I use this pattern? Can I make this? And try it. And that's what I did with La Poupée Modèle patterns. And I don't have the originals, but I have some copies. And I just challenged myself to do that.
Well, you used it the way that they're supposed to be used, where you modified and changed them and put different components into the same...
Well, you can, and I think with the kits that we're providing for this convention, there are going to be a lot of good pattern pieces, and they can be interchanged. You can make all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
I'm providing a skirt today. Well, probably everybody, but you can put a different bodice on that skirt.
Absolutely.
Make it a dress.
Or you can do your piece once you have the pattern and not do the cape and have it just have the jacket, or not have the jacket and then just have the cape and the blouse.
Well, you can do, you can make the cape in, say, a black wool or something and put it with anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my Hure has a couple of nice, beautiful black capes, and they go with everything. And they make them a little bit dressy, too. You can put a little beading on it, different kinds of laces. Chantilly.
Well, this ensemble has a lot of trimming to do.
Ooh,
so
yes.
in order to do it, they have to be prepared to trim.
Well, just take your time.
You know, this is not it's not going to be able to be done in the time allotted that we have video of. So.
Oh, no.
You're almost there.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty close. All right. I don't know. That's good. I probably need one of those, you know, those light things that people put on their head.
Me too. All right.
Anyway, so then you press this open, and then you've got insertion in
Instant elegance.
Instant elegance. And then you'll place your pattern piece on top, pin it, cut around it, and yes, where you have open, where you've cut away the thread, I pretty quickly tack that down. Yes, each little one, tack it down, and then you won't have any problems.
And it's going to be sewn up anyways, too.
Yes, eventually. Okay, so we've prepared the fabric for the front of the blouse, the chemisette, and placed the pattern over it and cut it out. Now we'll do the same thing for the back pieces. You'll have 2 back pieces, and you will prepare the fabric in the same way by pulling the threads and doing these little pin tucks, and then you'll have a square piece of fabric, you'll place the pattern on top, pin it, cut it out, and you'll have a piece just like this. Then we sew the shoulder seams together. So here we've shown in each shoulder seam. And here I'll turn it inside out, show.
And you finish that.
Yes, you're going to overcast all these rough seams.
Yeah, you haven't done your trimming yet.
And you can see here where I sewed down these little tucks to make sure that they wouldn't come undone, and across the bottom.
Now, Denise, is there a way with the placement of the tucking on the back, or is it however they want to line it up?
It's however they want to line it up.
So they have some freedom there.
Yes.
Because it's not matching up with anything else.
No, it's not. And you could keep tucking
if they want to. They could, couldn't they?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
We know Jeffrey will.
Jeffrey will, yay. Hi, Jeffrey. Oh, bless his heart. Yes,
you really could continue
no, you can make as many tucks as you want. This is,
Lovely.
Okay. And as you're going to have some edges, the back edge will be open like this. And usually we say, fold over a quarter, and then a quarter, and then you've got your back little placket here.
And we need the strength to get it all.
Yes. And you can, sew it down now, or you can sew it down later, or you can baste it. Baste it down later, because when you have the whole blouse constructed, then you're going to put it on the doll and make sure it fits in the back. If it's too much, tuck it in more.
And it really is important to fit as you go, don't you agree with that?
Yes, every step along the way, every step.
I mean, if you've done it 20 times for your doll, using a reliable pattern, then you don't have to do that. But if you're starting out, they really should fit this. They
should fit it. And we have to remember these are handmade patterns, hand-drawn, handmade patterns. And they're made for to be included into a kit for lots of different sewers to use. We're all different in our abilities and skill level, and some people might take bigger seam allowances, but their 1/4 inch might be look a little different than somebody else's. So we try to we do the best we can in fitting these, but really you should make sure your doll
fit as you go.
Fit as you go, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, next thing we're going to do is make our sleeves. And we cut them out. You're going to run a little running stitch along the top. This we're going to end up gathering. And you can just leave it. I've left a long thread here so I can put the needle back on and tighten it when we get to that. Then we're going to, on the pattern, you're going to see little dots. You're going to roll and whip this from the edge up to that dot. And I'm going to show that on just another piece of fabric. So we'll put that to the side.
So you're going to do a rolled...
Yes, now I have to say this is a faux roll and whip. It's my little fakey thing, thanks to my friend Eileen again. So.
Oh, I'm excited.
Okay. So fold the edge down.
So you do a fold.
A little, just one little fold. And stick the needle up into the fold like that. Okay. Pull it through. Oh, threads. Okay. And then right at where the edge of that fold, take a little stitch and take a little stitch at the top edge of that fold. It's always tricky starting these things. Okay, and then keep going like that. A little stitch at the bottom.
I see. Mm-hmm.
A little stitch at the top.
And then as you pull it, it starts to roll.
Yes. And I do several stitches and then I pull it.
And you're doing this with a darker thread so they get a...
It is a little bit, but I could have done it with, I think they can see it here.
So that they can see it.
Yeah. So then I'll just hold on to the edge there and pull it.
Oh, wow.
And then it's like a teeny little hem.
Oh, yeah, that's a great technique.
Now, you can keep going, and I don't know if it'll work because I haven't done much here, but you can actually gather it. There we go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can use that as a gather in
That's
some
another
cases.
technique.
Yes, another technique.
So can you unpull it so we can just see it as a rolled hem?
Mm-hmm. So it's not a beautiful rolled hem like Deborah does. Deborah does a gorgeous rolled hem. But I'm so in love with my fake one.
Hey, it's not fake.
And it's so easy. So we've done that little rolled hem from the edge of the bottom of the sleeve to the dot. It's about, good half inch, maybe a little bit more on both sides. Then we're going to gather that bottom edge and fit it to the cuff. This is the cuff piece. You can see I've left about 1/4 inch on either side.
And that's marked on their pattern.
And that is. And what you can do as well is kind of, look and see that you're on the right track. Okay? You're on the right track.
Oh, yeah.
And that, it's going to...
it's going to go over her hands, but you also have by having that cuff opening, you don't have a problem with
right
fitting over the hands.
And so I've turned this over about 1/4 of an inch. I've used up 1/4 of an inch on this side with the seam allowance. Turn it over and turn this in. And you can, do press these as you go, which, okay, I think one side at a time is easier for me to press that over, fold it over like that.
Right now you're just finger pressing it because we're...
Yeah, I'm just folding it over. Yeah, fold it over on, yes, because we're not at the armor right now. Fold it over on that side. And I should have had another pin here.
Uh-oh, we need
I
pins.
know. Can you, as much as you think you're
ready,
here it is. Hiding. You're not. Okay, so now you have the cuff down, and see this is the little edge.
Beautiful edge.
Where, yes, then we're going to end up with a button and a loop. The only way I know to prepare the thread is to put it through my mouth.
Whatever works.
Okay, and then I just try to, however you're going to hide that, the knot. And then just sew this side down. My knot's a little big here.
I mean, some of this work could be done on a machine, couldn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, usually Huré blouses, they're usually done by hand. Other things are done with machines, but usually a blouse is by hand.
It also, and I think I would encourage people to, next time they make a blouse, to try this too, is that you would have French seaming in your blouse that I've seen very often. Usually the whites, the underclothes, the blouse, a combing jacket, a lot of those things. Lingerie done with French seaming. And it's very, very easy. It looks weird because you're putting...
Yeah, it's the opposite of what you think you'd ever
yes,
do.
like when you sew these pieces together, you're putting them right side to right side and sewing, and then it comes out correctly. When you're doing a French seam, you'll put wrong sides together. Sew like this, which looks crazy. Then when you turn it right side, it'll be, you won't see anything, any exposed seam there. It's very cool.
I mean, they could do that with this, but they'd have to just allow a little more seam allowance.
Allow a little more, right. But that's something for another workshop, isn't it?
Another time, yeah.
I mean, there's so many things you can do and so many techniques that it'll be fun to learn. And you can learn from everybody, too. So you're just taking little itty bitty. I like Deborah's mouse stitches. These are little mouse stitches. It's very descriptive for some reason.
Well, small.
Teeny tiny little, yeah.
And not everybody can do the same small stitch. I mean, some people just cannot do it.
But that's practice too, and that it may be that their needle is too big.
That is usually the problem.
Starting out.
And not sharp enough.
And not sharp enough. And some people do better with shorter needles, some longer.
I make it work, whatever.
I know. Well, I love the very, very fine. I mean, they might be size 12. I always bend them.
I do too.
Right away. I bend them right away. And then I'm always sewing with a bent needle.
But I like them bent.
I like it. I mean, it's okay, you get used to it.
Yeah, but it's like almost like having a curved needle, which, upholsterers use.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if this is boring.
So it seems like when you go in, you just go in and you pick a little fiber. Mm-hmm. You don't get anywhere near the other side.
No, that's like. this is where I've sewn. This
You're
is
right,
the...
You're right on line.
So I want to put this over, and you're right, not get into this area, because that would show.
And it would ruin the
But
gathers.
just where, might be just above the seam line, tiny, I don't know. Yeah, a thread.
You're just picking one or two threads. So that's what the students need to do when they're doing this.
I'm going to take that pen away for now. Pin. I think I said pen. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think, you know, sewing long seams by machine is just fine. Some people are so good with machine sewing. I find it kind of gets away. I have more control sewing by hand. But for a skirt especially, you can sew up the long sleeve seams with a machine.
I mean,
they had them in the 1850s.
Yeah,
so.
and in the mid-19th century, sewing machine was a status symbol.
Right,
It wasn't
absolutely.
anything to be like, oh, wow, she didn't sew it right.
Correct, yeah, right.
I mean, it was a big deal.
And such a time-saving thing for women.
And there is a certain amount
And tailors.
of skill to use a machine like they used.
Right.
I mean, it's a whole different thing. You had to pedal that.
To be coordinated.
You really did.
Yeah. And then they did such incredible top stitching, too.
Oh, they did. Not everybody can do top stitching.
Oof.
So that's how you tie off. You and I tie off the same way.
And then like that. And then
It seems you did another stitch after you tied it off.
Yeah, I did just one, and then I'll just kind of go through. And I'll try to make it go, well, but I'll try to, make it go away down here.
So shall we try that on, Miss Lady?
Let's see, Miss Lady. Well, I'll put it this way so you can see.
There we go.
There we go.
That's a perfect fit.
That's
So if
pretty
they
good.
follow if they're doing this doll body and they follow the plan, they'll have a perfect fit.
Now what is we sew a piece of lace to the bottom. With this costume, I chose not to gather lace. I didn't want it being kind of frilly. I wanted to be a little more tailored, I guess. So
Well, you're a master at simplicity, which is really Hooray costumes had simplicity. They were not over embellished and
I don't like the frou-frou too much, but it has its place.
well, if you're doing dolls from the 1890s, it has its place.
It has its place. So I'm just folding this over teensed a little bit, 1/8 of an inch. I don't know. And again,
You're rolling it.
I just turned it over a couple of times, and I'm going to be right at the edge here. Okay. So I'm going to try to hide that. Get all that down so it doesn't stick
And this
up.
is such minute work that you couldn't pin this if your life depended on it.
I can't. No, you just got to hang on to it. And usually I just kind of go up in this a little bit. Some people are probably going to say, "What is she doing?"
I understand what you're doing.
I just want to keep it down. Of course, we'll press it.
You're
but
basically almost doing your rolled.
almost, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost the rolled
Almost. Yeah.
technique.
Okay. And then just take a little of the top edge with the, what do you call this part of the lace?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you'd call it. The edge.
The edge.
It's called the edge
It's
of the
called the
lace.
edge of the lace, right.
That could be our new soap opera.
The edge of the lace. They would stay tuned, I think. Okay, and it's kind of easy because there's no gathering.
You've got that little...
And when people do want to gather, I wonder if I can kind of digress a little bit, but you would pull out one of these little strings in here and then gently...
You'd have gorgeous gather.
Gently gather. See, and it's beautiful. You can do it. I mean, if you want to do it, yeah, you can gather it.
But if they gather it, they will not get it under... the jacket will not fit over
it's easier without the, yes.
Yeah, on this particular design.
Right. Yeah, there's a reason for, this. Reason for it.
But that pulling the thread is a very good technique for gathering lace.
Yeah. Yes, because if you try to fold it, and you can do it that way and sew it down, but it can be a little clunky too.
We don't want clunky. We want elegance.
We want elegance.
Simplicity.
Yes. It's funny because you think sometimes you see all of the little clunkiness in your own sewing or your own, and then other people say, "Oh my God, that's beautiful."
Well, one thing I've learned as time goes by is I don't criticize myself because others are so much better at it than I am. So I'll let them have it.
And they're going to do it.
And they're going to do it.
Well, and that's, there's not, I don't think there's only one way to do
there
these
isn't. There really isn't. Because you can look at original, I mean, we're lucky, and I know you're lucky that you have a lot of original garments.
Yeah.
And you can see every kind of technique that you can think of they used.
And then if you ask 3 different people, you'll get 3 different answers anyway, so,
Well, it's what works for them.
Yeah.
So you're really right at the edge, edge of lace.
Yeah.
And this is not a very...
See, it's right there.
Yeah, and that's very taut, so that's really great.
And you don't pin it, you just hold it with your fingers. It's just a little space. Okay, we were just putting the lace on the cuff of the sleeve. We're going to place a button on one side right at the edge, and then a loop at the other side, at the other end. If we look at the doll, we're putting this sleeve here. We'll put it on her left arm. And then the button is on this side, and then the loop is going to go around right at the edge.
So button on top.
Okay, so I'll just show how I do the loop. And, somehow try to hide that old knot. And this one, we're going to put it right at the edge. And... okay, let me just make...
so you've doubled that thread.
I've doubled that thread. I've just put... And when you're doing buttons, when you do enough of them, you start to know how big a loop you need. But you gotta try to make sure that it looks like it's going to fit over the button that you've used.
So you test it.
And better that it's a little too big than too small, because the last stitch you do, you can pull it in and tighten it a bit. So I'm going to do this twice.
So you'll have 4 threads.
Yes. And they're not exactly, you know, but that's fine. And then anchor it. Now we're going to make loops all around this bigger loop. And it's really the buttonhole. No, it's, oops, excuse me, I was looking at Michael.
I'm so distracting.
Okay, and you see how I've got the back at the eye end of the needle going in first. I don't know why it matters. This is something
Well, you don't stab yourself.
Well, no, I learned this from Louise. Louise did this. And you just keep looping and pulling it through. I don't know if I have left myself a long enough
It's over,
piece of thread.
up, and through.
Okay. Well, yeah, through here.
Through,
Up.
up,
And then
back when you've got that little loop.
in the little
Through.
loop.
Do that again slowly.
Okay. In the little hole.
These loops are essential for 19th century doll clothes.
Yes, they are. And there are different places to put them. And I don't think I left myself enough thread here. Let's see.
So they only get in this kit 2 buttons, so they have to be very careful not to lose those.
Right.
These little tiny buttons, aren't they hard to get?
Yes, they are. And then especially for us doing kits to get them in bulk.
Oh yeah, because we need a lot of them.
Yes. You can't be paying $2 a button.
No, it
Because
isn't. Yeah. Well, some
Our sewers don't
tiny,
want to.
tiny buttons are a lot more than $2. And they didn't over button in the 19th century anyways. They were very...
I'm almost to the end. Let me see what I've got here. Okay, let me show that again.
So that just fits perfectly.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's a tad on the big side, which I said was better than being too small. And then I'll show you what we do with that. Where was I? Here we go. What then we can do is close this little gap up.
Oh yeah, just give it a little
Yeah.
tuck. Perfect.
And we got it smaller.
That's a beautiful loop.
There. And then just finish it off in the back. Wow, I just made it. All right. Okay. The next step is that we're going to put the sleeve onto the bodice. Now the next step is we're going to put the sleeve into the chemise, the chemisette. You can see that what we've done so far, we've got this hole here, which is the armhole, and this is the side, this is the side. We need to fit this into here, and you can see why we put this little gathering thread in here, so that this will fit into here. Okay.
Now,
So
Denise, do you baste that the blouse before you put the sleeve in, or do you just leave it raw?
This,
This piece?
no,
No, you leave it raw?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. Okay, so I've put the needle on the end of this thread that I had left, and you're going to gather it a little bit, not very tightly, and see how the sleeve has to go in this way, but we're going to flip it like this so that when it's sewn in, you see it will be the correct side. Okay, and first, I haven't tied this off yet because I'm not sure exactly how tight to make it. So I'm going to take this corner of the sleeve and put it on this corner of the chemisette on this side, the back, and then pin it. And then I also want to pin this edge over to the other side of this little moon shape. Okay. And then just gather it up and kind of see how it fits in here.
So you just work it until it...
You have to just work it. And then I usually I'll put a pin in kind of centrally here, and then just keep working it.
And you use fairly small stitches to do the gathering?
Yes.
Because that'll give you, small stitches will give you small gathers.
Yeah, right. And then you're just trying to sort of make them a little even. I'd like a little more over on this side. So I took that pin out. And then, see, I'm fitting it into that little area.
You're working it into the space.
Right. And, you know, there's no magic to it. It's just doing the best you can. And don't worry. Don't worry. I know a lot of beginning sewers want to know exactly, down to the millimeter sometimes, and don't always have to worry about that. Just have fun with it. It'll come out. Okay, so I'm trying to get these little edges even. Okay. I think one more pin. It's kind of hanging out there. Okay. Oh, maybe one more. When you're using gathering, you use a lot of pins. Okay. So I've got this piece from end to end, and now I can tie this off because I don't need this anymore hanging. Okay. The next step is sewing a seam right along here.
And what is the seam allowance?
It's 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch.
Yeah.
That seems to be a good seam allowance for the size doll.
For most of the patterns that we use, it's 1/4 inch. Most people will say that, unless specified. There are places where you might want 1/8 inch or something. So we can just... And usually a good idea to back stitch at least the first stitch. Some people will back stitch as they go every few stitches, and I don't tend to do that. I have have to take my stitches out too often, and they're too tiny. It's a pain. You know, when you make a mistake, and you do, and you just have to take out your stitches. And
I think that's a really important life lesson.
All there is to it.
Sometimes, as good as you can be, sometimes you have to take out your stitches.
You just do.
And do it over again.
Yep.
We don't spend a lot of time here crying about
we don't cry.
Messed up stitches. We just do it again.
Yep. And who's to cry to? Somebody will say, boo-hoo.
Yeah, that's what they'd say. You did it
Too
wrong. Do it.
Do it again.
Do it again until you get it right. There's no crying in our classes.
No. They're too much fun.
One time we had a lady that got very upset, and she went into the kitchen and was crying to David about her performance. And David just said to her, "I think you need a glass of orange juice."
Orange juice. a little sugar to
it saved her. She
needed to pick me up.
She
probably wanted something stronger, but we have to try to keep
this was during
straight lines.
The day. This was during the day.
Yeah. Okay. And then as you go along, you make more, move those little gathers around. Yes.
I sometimes on a project like this, I sometimes will baste the sleeve in first and then kind of have a look at it. But it depends.
Yeah.
A lot of it depends on the fabric that you're using.
Idea.
If you're using some fabrics are just incredible to work with, and others are difficult. But this seems to be a very nice fabric to work with.
It is. And cotton is lovely. Okay. And I guess I'm trying to do this a little bit quickly for us. But, okay. Anyway. And then we have a sleeve, which you will now press.
It looks beautiful.
Press. It'll look better pressed.
It looks absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Now the next step, you want to close this up. One way you could have done it was to close this in the first place and then work in that hole and put your sleeve in. Sometimes you have to do that. In this case, you don't. And I learned this in one of our workshops that I was a student in. And let's see. Okay, sorry. I kind of flipped you around. So we have the sleeve like this. Fold it in on itself. And what I do is try to get these matched up. See that seam there? Mm-hmm. Get that matched up pretty well. First, that's the first thing. Because you might have cut these a little unevenly, so if you're starting here, then you might be a little off there.
Yeah, you can make up for it.
So, oops.
Can't under the arm.
Okay, we've got that. And then go down here, make sure this is all even, and see where we rolled this. We want to sew right up to that. So put a pin right in there too. And the fabric is rolling a little here because it keeps rolling a little bit. But
you started it.
Yeah, just straighten it out. Use as many pins as you need. Okay. I usually start down here. And then sew a 1/4 inch right up to this spot.
And then when you're done sewing that, do you then finish the seams off?
Yes.
Overcast them?
Oh, yes. Then I usually will overcast everything. The arms, we didn't do that, but absolutely.
You'll go and
you
overcast
will,
that.
well, yes. I did do this because I prepared this before, so I overcasted the shoulders. But yes, you will do that. And you're just doing a little running stitch.
With a 1/4-inch seam allowance.
Right. As I can get my hand down here, and so I can get this needle moving.
Well, we'll let everyone finish this and we'll be back.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to move on to the collar. And we will have 4 little parts that look like this, and they're going to be edged in lace. And once again, this is not gathered lace, it's pretty straight. Now to get lace to show through the bottom of the collar, you need to put it in, sew it inside like this, with this facing the inside. This is the edge of the lace, and this is what you sew very close to the edge.
So you've already sewn that?
I have already sewn this one.
So they do it right on that edge?
Right on the edge.
And that little, isn't there a little ridge in the lace?
There is. Yes, we were wondering what to call that. It's just a little
ridge.
It's some threads kind of running horizontally in a way, and then starts the lacy part, the open part. So right along there. And the edges you'll have to, see, I press these in to get them out of the way, because you don't want to say catch that in there. Okay.
So you've pressed that down so it'll
get out of the way and then you stitch around here from top up here to there. You don't need to do anything with this because it will be covered. So
that you're doing this right on the very edge of the piece. And so we really couldn't stress out the material by basting it. It would start to...
I think so, yeah. And then I've started this one on this side. Let's see. So I'll just keep going. I think I stopped here maybe. Let's see how close here. This is not a 1/4 inch type of seam. I don't know, 1/8 of an inch.
This is barely even a seam.
It's just kind of barely a seam.
Yeah. You're really following the line of the lace. So
yes, yes. And actually I did sew this before, and then I took the stitches out so that I would have a sample to show. Get that in there.
Was this a little Peter Pan collar?
Yeah. I don't know, what did they call it? And we call it that.
You know, the problem with terminology in the 19th century, it depended on which periodical you're reading. You could have a one collar that could have been called 20 different things. Garibaldi collar, a Peter Pan collar. It depended on who was writing about it. So it does make it a little tricky.
Okay, I'm just reinforcing by a little back stitch this little corner here. And then I turn it around and I go back over that little back stitch. See my long thread, look at that, okay. I think I got it, okay. Okay, this is a little bit stressed because I hadn't used it before. All right. This edge is going to be covered. All right. Then you turn it inside, or right side out.
Now
actually.
this is the moment of truth.
It's like, ta-da. I think I didn't get that corner right, so. But you know what?
We'll do it again.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Just do it again.
One thing in our classes is pretty regularly with almost all of the instructors, when someone does something that's not quite right, instead of crying about it, we just say, well, do it again.
Yes, they'll say, is this okay? I'll just say, no. You have to do it again. Because I know they won't be happy with it.
No, they won't. You know, and Grandma in the 19th century didn't pull any punches. You know, it just, you've got to do it right.
Yeah, and a lot of us are we're teaching ourselves too, and we're learning as we go. Well, let's cross our fingers. Okay. We're amongst friends, aren't we?
Yes.
All right, here it is. It's in there.
See, you corrected that.
It's in there. Okay. And then we would do the same for the next one. Okay, now that we have made our collars and have this nice little lace edging on them, we want to put them up at the neckline. And I have put this first one on already. And you're just sewing it straight on. You're not flipping it over, you know, that kind of thing, because this is going to have a facing on it. So here's the second piece. And I have put the lace edge right up sort of to the lace, the insertion. So kind of right there. And put the first pin in. Okay, now this piece is pretty straight. This is curved, and you want to sort of work that. What I'll do is span that across, put another pin, and then sort of straighten this out, to fit that.
So you ease it in.
You're easing it in, yeah.
It doesn't seem like it works, but
right,
the fabric
but then it does, yeah, yeah. Okay, and then you're going to sew it with with a little running stitch right across again.
It looks like you're not using small stitches, but not tiny.
Not teeny tiny. Yes, you want it to stay, but it's going to be covered. A little trouble around there.
So you're going to be showing them a little secret, aren't you?
Well, it's not a secret, but...
Well, I think it's a secret.
Can you imagine them doing this with machines in the old days? Because I'm sure they did.
Well, you could, in a lot of ways, you could have more control over a treadle machine than you could an electric machine today.
So now we have the collars sewn on, both collars. And of course we can't leave a raw edge like that. So what we have cut is a bias strip. This is cut on the bias, which means you're cutting across the grain. And when you have a piece of bias, it stretches, which is why we do this on the bias, so that it'll stretch and curve around the neckline. This, for instance, we haven't gotten there, but this is the waistband, which is cut on the straight of grain. That doesn't
no movement
at all. Okay.
No wiggle space.
No wiggle space. So, and I have already fit this on my doll, and I have finished the back edges with a little stitch, blind stitch. Okay. So leave a little 1/4 of an inch on the edge, and then start pinning around.
And you just ease it in.
Just ease it in. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be stretching it. I mean, it's going to go around very nicely. This was a little piece that I had cut, but it's longer than you will need to cut, and that'll all be in the instructions. I should have my other scissors up here.
We have scissors here.
No, I know, I have them. I should have my others up here.
Those are your award-winning scissors.
Yay, Deb. Actually, those are hanging in my sewing room.
Oh, these aren't your award-winning?
No, should I use them? I should use them, huh? For sure. Okay, and then I just cut like a little 1/4 inch off the edge there. Okay. And then you will sew again, the little running stitch along. Okay, so we have put on that bias strip, sewn it all the way across with a running stitch, and then I have gone back and pressed it. What you would need to do first is try to press it right on this seam line here. And it takes a little doing because you've got a few layers of fabric in here, and it's such a tiny little thing, little collar.
So you just ease it in.
You just ease it in.
Keep working.
What I am going to do, what I'd like to do now, and what you can do, is baste this top part right here, so that when you're fiddling with this facing in the back, this won't get all cattywampus.
It's not, yeah, you don't want it pulling out.
Right. And these are just big basting stitches. Nothing, no big deal.
Because they're going to be good. They're going away.
Yeah. So now on this side you've got this facing, which we need to do something with. Okay, we're going to fold it over. You can put it right under there, under, and then fold it over again.
So it's 2 folds.
Yes. And then pin it.
It's slightly like a rolled edge.
Kind of, like a big one.
Now you wouldn't press this until you're done.
Until you're done.
Yeah, because you want that kind of curvature. Is that, am I wrong about that?
Nope. And I start with the center just to get it even, and then these get tucked under, and then it gets folded over and over again. And see, we still have this up here on the top.
Now this part, you probably don't really pin the whole thing because the pins would get in the way. So it looks like you pin it in the center.
No, I do. It doesn't get in the way this way.
Okay.
Well, yeah. This is just, I think the simplest way for me to have it lie flat.
Right. Well, when you're used to just doing it, you do it. You don't teach it.
I know, and you don't talk to yourself when you're doing it.
Oh, I do. I say some of the most horrible things.
But nobody knows, so it's okay. Wow. Okay. And then it's just sort of trying to ease that up into there. I feel like you're all thumbs when you're showing people things. Okay. So now it's all pinned down. And oops, I'm sorry, I moved too quickly probably for you. Okay. Boy, you can tell this, we're just taping live, aren't we? Okay, here we go. Okay.
You want to do that over?
No.
No. Okay.
We'll just go with it.
Okay.
Don't you think? Because stuff happens, right? And I'll just knot this up. Okay. So I have it partly started there, and I'm just going to come back here. Yeah, I mean, nothing is unfixable, right? You can fix
you just keep doing
about
it.
Anything. And here I'm taking little bits, and I don't want to, see the collar is right under here. I don't want to get the collar, right? I don't want to sew that down.
So you're just picking up a couple of fibers.
I'm just picking up a couple threads here, and they're not really going to show because the collar will lie down on there. It's like this is very serious, huh?
Serious work.
So if people are in sewing groups, this is where they can
talk.
Talk and drink their coffee.
No drinking coffee around the white lights.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, in workshops we can't even have water.
You can't.
No.
Because if you spill your water, it won't be on your dress.
Nope. Be on your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And there are no friends in sewing, right?
Well, no, there can be friends, but you just can't spill it on your friend's dress.
Okay, so now we are ready to put on the waistband of the blouse of the chemisette. And the blouse is a little bit wider than the piece you're going to cut for the waistband. And that's because we want the blouse to be, you know, poofy, and we don't want it to sit directly against the doll. So gather, just lightly gather. This isn't precise, it's not like cartridge pleating. And gather the bottom with a little, kind of a small baste. And again, we're going to put the piece a little bit over the edge.
Isn't that about 1/4 of an inch?
Yeah, usually it is about 1/4 of an inch.
But they need to, whatever doll they're making this for, that needs to come into play.
Yes, yes. And then you're going to ease it in. Try to have it kind of flat right in front.
No gathers where the tucks are.
Yeah, right here in front.
And the insertion.
And then you can see there are some gathers on these sides. And just ease that in. Kind of look at it front ways and behind. Okay. And now we'll do a nice little running stitch. About 1/4 of an inch right along the bottom. Okay. Okay, so we've sewn the waistband onto the bottom of the chemisette, and you can see how there are little gathers here and there. It's not many, but just here and there. And you've already pressed this edge down 1/4 of an inch, so it's easier to work with. When you finish sewing this on, press it. As actually you do each step, you should press. Fold the side in and just over like so. Okay. And then it'll be about that wide, the waistband. Okay. And when you have pressed this edge, look, it just folds right over. It's just so much easier to do it. I love pressing flat pieces before I actually have to use them, where it's appropriate. Okay, and blind stitch is pretty much like we did this neck facing. Blind stitch through here. What you're going to do is put 3 buttons, and we'll show in a second. 3 buttons on the back of the blouse, 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, 1 in the middle, and then you'll do loops.
Which we've already shown you how to do loops.
Corresponding to the buttons, loops just like these.
Which we did.
Yep. And then we have a blouse. Let's see how. This is what I was just talking about. We just took this off the doll. And you've got the blouse.
It's all finished and beautiful.
Finished blouse. Okay, so now we've finished our blouse and put it on the doll, and we're very happy. We're happy with the way everything fits. And it's time to go on to the skirt.